Okay, guys, I want to give you some advice for laying out part of your environment inside Maya. Okay, some of you guys have built the whole entire structure. Mr. Arp, you built a great wall with everything lower level. That looks fantastic. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. I should have shown you this before. Something I did do in Julia's case is that she had already made a whole structure that was all attached, but I wanted her to be able to move walls around in case you're going to make any adjustments. Because what happens is when you guys are looking at your structure, I built this really quick, right? If you're looking at the layout of your restaurant, there's lots of designs and themes and parts that you're going to change in it. So when you're looking at it from here, it's a totally different view than when you're looking at it down here like this, okay? So I might look at this and be like, you know, hey, this looks really fantastic, but once I start putting tables and chairs in here, it's going to really alter and change the scale and the feel. For example, in most restaurants, in fact, and the same thing with schools, we have what we call like an emergency exit, okay? Meaning that, is there a room with a table and a chair for students still to get by that might be in wheelchairs? It might be, there's usually 3 feet of space between desks, right? It's the same thing in a restaurant. You don't want to have chairs that are so close, waiters can't get by or people can't walk by. So if I come in here and I start laying stuff out, it's a lot easier for me to just create my walls like this. Look, 1, 2, 3. You see this? I have separate walls right there. That way, if I get in and I start to lay out my restaurant and I decide, hey, you know, this wall needs to be further back, okay, I could come in here, I can grab that wall and I can pull it 5 feet back like that, and it's not going to have any major effect on my whole design. But if you make it out of one modular piece, that's really difficult to do. Okay, so it's a lot easier to get in here and to piece it together. Now look, I have this little wall that extrudes out like that, right? You see this? It's 3 pieces in here that are separate mesh. So this is my rough layout. So if I want to go in this, let's say I like this right here. Let's say that's going to be my bar area. Okay, if I like that, later on, once I lay out and get my tables in there and I get some information that's setting my scale. So what I mean by setting my scale is if I come in here, let me just do this really quick, right? Let's say that this is going to be one of my tables right now. Okay, and give me a second here. Let me just extrude the base of it and make a really simple table right here. Okay. Let's say that's my table that I'm going to have people eating at. And then what I like to do is I just take a couple spheres like this. I can do it with one sphere pretty quickly. And I just look at that and say, hey, what's somebody's height? So if that's somebody's head, okay, this here is going to be somebody's torso, about right here, okay? Then I'm going to duplicate that guy real quick. Oops. Bear with me for just a minute. You're like, what's he doing? He's making the best model ever. Okay. So this is really important. Any type of location or scene that I do that's going to take place, this is one of the first things that I do is I set up and establish what I call the scale inside the scene. So look, it took me about 2 minutes here, right? To make this little guy here. So now I'm going to select this guy all as one piece of geometry. I'm going to group him together, center the pivot, okay? That's my scale. So now I have a good idea that if I have this table here, and I haven't even here, real quick, let me just create a base chair, let's say. Okay? Let's say I have a chair that's right about here. Okay, 1 second. There we go. And I just do this super fast. But you do this a lot. In fact, I know I've done this before for lots of games, for commercials and other type of work. This is what we call just rough previs layout, where I'm laying out scale. So now I need to look at this. Look at this particular table, right? If I have 2 chairs side by side here, and if I group those, duplicate those, I bring these over to the other side, okay? And I flop those over. I'm just doing this real quick to show you. This is all going to become one group now right here, okay? So as I move this around, I need to decide, you know, look, if I'm looking at somebody's scale, well, I wanted to have 2 rows of tables and chairs in there. That's not going to fit. So I have to be able to go in there very quickly and move walls around. So if I select this whole area right here, make that one, I might decide to move that wall back and then move this whole wall back a little bit more like this. Because I wanted to come in here and have 1 row here, and I wanted to have another row right here. So if I do this, if I decide that that row is, if I put it like that, they're going to hit each other. In fact, I could take the scale of my individual right now, and I could put them through there, and I could see, look, that person's not even going to be able to fit. That's a bad idea for my scale, right? So this is how I match up my scale from the very beginning. So I might decide, you know, what if I pull that back now, and now I have to pull this table back like so, and if there's a bar, that might need a little bit of a walkway. So now I've completely changed part of the layout of my room because I've had to make a lot of massive adjustments here. Okay, so you might decide, you know what, maybe I'm just going to go a single row instead. Maybe I'm not going to have double. Maybe I'm just going to do a single row down the middle here, like this. Okay, and then I might decide to bring my bar area back, okay, to about, let's say about there, and then I might bring this wall back to about here. Okay, this is really important stuff. This is what I call the layout of the rough layout, which is what I asked you guys to have finished. Okay. Oops. Okay, so right now, if you look at this, here's sort of my rough layout. Look, I have a table of 8 there. I have another table of 4 here. And then I might decide that when I come back here, maybe I end up having some booth seating back here against this wall. I might have something else that's over here. I'm just doing something really fast. Maybe there's a stage up here. Maybe I'm going to have a secondary level that's going to be up over here, okay? And people are going to be eating up here, all right? Maybe the bar is underneath right here, okay? What's important is I figure out the scale and how things are starting to look. If I don't map this out like this right now, you're going to have a tremendous amount of problems of getting things to fit. Because once you get this mapped out like this, your next step is now where you start to bring in your props and you start to put stuff on walls and you start to put stuff around. But now I can make easy adjustments. I could say, well, look, you know, when I really look at that stage, so if that was going to be in my little stage, and I take my person right here, and I duplicate my person, I'm designing a multi-million-dollar restaurant here. Okay, it's going to cost a lot of money to make. Does that look like enough room for like a 5-person band and their equipment? From there to there? Hell no. That's like enough room for like 3 or 4 people. Okay, that's not enough. Bands have equipment, they have mics, they have all that stuff. So I might need to make a decision in here. Okay, because of my rough layout here, I might decide to pull my stage over. In fact, what if I bring this back wall further out a little bit more? That might allow me to make my bar a little bit larger, so I can get my bar over here. All right, I might stretch my bar out a little bit more this way. And now I decide to take this wall here. I'm going to move this wall back. This is the layout. This is the most important part of your restaurant. If you have a crappy layout, your restaurant is going to feel tight and constricted, and it's not going to feel like it's a workable, manageable place, okay? And by doing this, look, I'm just easily going in here and adjusting every little piece, and then I could set up and have a better idea. Now when I come over here and look at if this is, let's say that this is my little stage area, and I might even have like a little decorative area up above with curtains or something above. Now I have a much better idea. Could I fit more people up here? So looking at the scale, I could have a drummer back there. I could have somebody that's back over here. I could have somebody that might be singing up here. Look at that. I have plenty of room now looking at that scale to figure out, okay? So that's sort of rough basics 101 for laying out your room. Now I talked about having things at different levels. So what I did is I have a couple different objects in here, and I can take these objects, I could stretch them out, okay? I might decide that your entrance is coming up through right here. We're walking in through stairs, and then we're going to drop down, and then you're going to see the rest of the restaurant that's in there, okay? All right, so the next thing I want to show you, as you guys continue, everyone has different ideas. I gave you suggestions about what makes really competent designs in terms of having things at multiple levels. You know, we have certain guidelines we have to follow, right? Well, this gets a little confusing where I'm doing this and I'm moving around all the time. I want to show you guys how to create a camera and put a camera inside your scene. This is really great because it allows you to look through your camera and figure out how your room is starting to work, okay? So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, I'm going to go to Create, and I come right down here to Camera, I'm going to go over to Camera right here, and I select it. So Create, Cameras, and Camera right there. When I select that, look at what pops up in the middle of the scene. Okay? What popped up in the middle of the scene? I have a nice little camera there. I can select that camera, I can move it over, okay, and what's cool is I can look through that camera now. To look through that, I have to go to Panels, and if I go to Perspective View, look, there's camera 1. And another way, whenever we create anything in Maya, remember, it's always going to show in our outliner. So look, I have a camera right there now. So I could come in and select this, double click it, I might label that and call that my floor view. Floor view. All right, but now I want to look through it. It's really easy. Panels, Perspective, Floor View. Now I'm looking through that camera. Okay, why is this important? Because what if I want to see, what if my client says, give me the point of view of somebody walking in my restaurant? What is that going to look like? Well, here, let's say I was going to have that as an entryway. Let's say I walk in, okay, and right now, let's say I take my scale of my person, I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to turn that person this way, like this, facing the restaurant, right? And I'm in my camera, which is my floor view, right? So watch, I'm going to zoom up here. Look at that. That's my scale of a person, right? I'm going to come right up to their eye level. You see this? Right at their eye level, right there. Let me show you. I'm going to go back to perspective view. How do I go back to my perspective view? I come back here under Panels, Perspective, Perspective View. Okay? But look, see where my camera is right now? Now my camera's huge. It just happened to be that way because my scale's big. I can shrink my camera down. Nothing changes. But look at where my camera is. My camera is at the eye level of that person. So now I have a good idea. When you're flipping around your set, you're looking at it from a high top view right here. You have no idea what someone's really going to look at with the scale they're going to see in your restaurant. But if I come down here and go Panels, Perspective, Floor View, that's what somebody's going to see. Okay, now check this out, all right? Let's get really complicated in Maya, okay? What if I don't want to necessarily go on this view? I want to be able to see both views right now. If I hit my space bar, you know how it could take me to the 4 views? Right now it's not because I have my outliner open, okay? So I'm going to come over here, click the 4 view option right there. And so look, that right there is my perspective view. It says PERSP right there, right? So I'm going to come over here, go to Panels, Perspective, and I'm going to go to Floor View. You see how I did that? So now in Perspective View, I can come in here and I can take the camera. Now watch, ready? Here's the cool part. Is everyone watching? Nope, a lot of people are looking somewhere else. Okay, I see Rebecca typing. I see people not looking up here. Okay, so here's the really important part, right? Now I can look and see what somebody's seeing. See that? I'm turning the camera in Perspective View, and I'm seeing what the view looks like in this other open window right here. Okay, I have that option to do that in Maya. This is really important for me because I might decide to take that. Well, what if I want to know what the reverse angle view looks like, right? So I could duplicate that camera. I just selected it, hit Control D. Okay, I'm going to come in my perspective view. What does my restaurant look like from the view of somebody standing on the stage? Maybe I need to make some adjustments. So I'm going to turn this camera around. I'm going to bring it right at about this person's head. It's really large, so I'm going to scale the camera down so I can get it right to where their eyeball would be. See that? And now remember, I just duplicated that camera, right? So what does that mean? It means if I pull up my outliner, it'll be listed in my outliner, okay? But now look, here's my perspective. I can come back here, Panels, Perspective. There's Floor View 1. That's the one I just duplicated. There's my reverse shot. Okay, so if I'm looking back in this direction, I can now see the depth. Look at that. That's huge. I can see the depth of my world right there. Okay, this is always going to change. This is a huge part about taking a drawing or a design and translating it into Maya, because your drawing or your design is basically an illusion. You're using perspective and drawing something to convey a certain feeling to somebody. if the perspective's off or if you're out of the cone of vision, that can totally change. So when I go into Maya, I might decide, hey, this wall right here for my entrance, okay, I need to have a further distance right there. So if I were to take this wall right here, because I didn't put my entrance wall, okay, so if I put that entrance wall and I look back right here, I could look back. So look at this. Looking at this view right here, do you see how that might not feel like it's far enough? So if that's not far enough, I did that by hitting spacebar real quick. You see that? It bounced back and forth. Now I can come back to my perspective view and decide, you know what? I want my room to be a little bit larger. I'm going to push this wall back. If I push that wall back, I'm going to go ahead and select these side walls right here, and I'm going to pull these back a little bit more like this. I'm going to do the same thing with my ground plane and get it set up. Okay, there. Now when I look at that view, that's a totally different view. But because I just extended that back in the back view, now I can come back in here and I could take my camera. Hold on. I could take my camera that's positioned right at this guy's forehead, and now I'm going to move him back. That was a different camera. So I'm going to come back here, perspective, go back to floor view, and now I'm going to move him back to the entrance. Here's the entrance door. See what that did? It just added 5 or 6, 10 more feet of viewable distance inside my place, okay? Excuse me, inside my restaurant. This is extremely imperative and important. You have to be able to do this to figure out the size and the dimensions of your place. Then once you get it set down, if you come back and you say, hey, this is really what I like this feel, then you could come in and start building some stuff out of one piece. For example, if this is a wall right here, right now that wall is composed of 3 pieces. Look, I have an overlap, I have an edge sticking out. Well, that doesn't look attractive. So what I can do is I can delete that wall, come back to this wall. I could insert an edge loop right here, okay? Go to Control I there. I'm going to insert an edge loop right there, boom. And then now I could finalize this wall and turn it into one structure. And then go to face, and I could select that face and that face, go to extrude, and now I can extrude those walls out, see that like that? And now I could finalize and make that like an official wall. Does that make sense? So, but before I do that, I like having things on separate walls when I lay stuff out because it allows me to see things. Okay, now I want to show you a couple other really cool things. Let's say that you're laying out your restaurant and you have your tables everywhere. Let's say I have tables that go, let's say here. I have a couple that are here. Let's say I change my mind. I have some out on the floor. I have the band area here. Then let's say I decided to do this for some reason. Just hypothetical, right? I've just created this design super fast. Let's say I have a whole upper story right here. And now I'm going to have tables that are up there. In fact, these might be more family seating area. Okay? So let's say I have a table right here. And then if I put another one here. Actually, let's join those. So let's say that's one table right there. Group. This is just my rough layout. Say I have another table there. Say I have one in the back here. That's for the super loud family with the kids that shouldn't be there, right? Okay. There. So I have a large table there. So look at this. See what's happening? My set's starting to get really heavy. Okay. I have tables everywhere detail. So I'm going to show you something really cool. I'm going to take all my tables right now. I'm going to select them all. See this? All my tables are selected. To lighten up my scene so I can move around there right now, I'm going to come over here to my channel box / layer editor. I'm going to come down here on the bottom under the layers. And see this? There's a couple layer icons right here. That white piece of paper is just a layer. Create a new layer. Nothing's assigned to it. If I select, If I select objects inside the scene, and then I attach those objects to the layer, it does it for me. So watch, I selected the objects. If I hit the layer with the blue sphere on it, that means it's going to attach that. Okay, so I select that real quick. Look, it created a layer right here. Now I could come here and I could label this layer tables. And watch, here's the cool part. I can hit save. So now I have all those tables on a layer. And see this V right here? V is for visible. Look what happens when I click V. They're gone. They're still there. It's just on a layer. I told Maya to hide it. That way you can hide some of your information in your set that might be weighing down your set, especially once you start getting plants and all that stuff. But what happens if I'm working and I need to see the position of the tables to put my lamps in and everything else, and I want them to be there but not be there? Well, if you click on the next box over, I have something called T, which is for transparency. Do you see that? So now they're there. It's not weighing down my set anymore, but it shows me where they are. So if I want to position a chandelier above it and so on, I can do that very quickly. Isn't that fantastic? It's a really quick way that you can work, especially like Molly has a really fantastic barrel with rope around it. Molly, you could probably duplicate that thing about 10 times, but then put it on its own separate layer like this, put it on T for transparent, and you don't have to worry about it. If I click T again, okay, it puts it on R. R means like R, no, just kidding. You can't touch it, right? So R, look, if I go to touch it right now, I can't select them. That's really handy because you might have wall frames on the wall, you might have something else around, and every time you're working, you keep touching it by accident. You put it on a layer, you put it on R, and that doesn't allow you to touch it anymore, okay? So if I take R off, it's back on visible. Even if I put this on T for transparency and I take off V, V is just completely visible. And so that's a really great feature. As I'm working in my restaurant, I can look, I know where I want to hang chandeliers, and even if I have to move something around though, but look, if I go to move that table around, I can't touch it right now. It's on transparency mode. If I take it out transparency, then I could come in and, well, I put it on R by accident. There we go. And now I can grab a table and decide, well, maybe I want this table over here because there's going to be a staircase that comes through here. Maybe I have plants, whatever. You can keep laying everything out, and that is sort of step number one there. Okay, so just to wrap this up, really important, if you guys created your whole entire room out of one piece of geometry, that's okay. That's not a bad way to work. However, though, you're going to have to select vertices and be very conscientious about moving walls over. Okay, but I find things to be a little bit easier this way, because the other thing too is, let's say I want to put a window in. You have to remember this. When you have something that's made out of one piece of geometry, remember sometimes when we would do a boolean, what would happen? Maya would just make it disappear, or something would mess up the object. Or if you have other booleans and then you do one boolean, all of a sudden all the other boolean, the holes fill, right? So what I like about having separate walls like this is that now I can make adjustments. So let's say I decide to come in here, and here I'm going to scale this down. Let's say I want to have 3 or 4 windows right in here. Okay, I can just take that piece right here. See that? I'm going to have a couple tall windows. Maybe not that tall. It's a little tall. I'd say these are going to be my windows right here, right? I'm going to have one here, duplicate, put one here, and one here. Let's say this one's maybe a little bit longer. Okay. Now what I can do is I can do a boolean real quick into that shape. However, before you do that, I'm going to do a demo for you at next class on how to make windows very quickly. Before you boolean these holes that are going to be your windows, take the core pieces that you have right here, duplicate them, and move them over right there, because we're going to use those again. We're going to boolean those and turn those into our window frame. Why? Because they already match the same size of the window. It's an expedited approach to making a window very quick. In fact, I'll show you right now in this demo. So watch. I want to make a window right there, right? This is all I have to do. I made those little squares, right? So I'm going to take this window, take this, all right? Alt difference. There's window hole 1. Do this one. There's window 2. There's window 3. Do you see that? That's how I made my windows in my restaurant super quick. The reason why I duplicated these shapes and put them over, I'm going to do this on one of them right now. Okay? I'm going to take that shape. That's going to become a window frame right now. So watch. I'm going to duplicate that. That's going to become my window glass. Matches the same hole right here, right? So now I'm going to take this, duplicate this guy, scale him down inside a little bit, stretch him out. Okay? Select that, alt difference, done. That's my window glass right here. I now take my window glass, oops. I'm going to slide my window glass into place. Take the window frame, group it, and now I'm going to slide it and look at what happens if I come look on the other side. I have a perfect fitting window. Okay? So save yourself that time and duplicate the shape that you're going to bully on the hole with, because then you could quickly go in there and you don't have to resize a poly every time. It saves you a lot of time. Now look, I made this window really quickly. There's lots of other things I can still add to my window. Okay, in this particular time period, they had shelves. They had like detail ornate work. So let's say I decide to come back down here and I want to pull something out. So I can come here, go to my face, all right, and I can go to extrude. So I'm going to pull that shape out a little bit like that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, actually, let's do this. Let's pull that out there. And I'm going to extrude it again one more time, pull that out a little bit lower. And then I can come over here to these faces. Let me show you. This is actually really cool. Okay, and I'm going to extrude those. And I go from the center and just scale them out like this. See how I just did that? I made a little window lip there very quickly. Okay. Windows have little edges and lips and stuff, especially in this time period. They always have little details around them. Okay. Now here, real quick, I can't really see through my window right now, so let's go over, let's adjust that window, rendering, editors. Let's go down to the hypershade. I'm just going to create a blend really fast here. Double click my blend. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pick what I call like a light glass color. Let's say a frosted, I like warm colors sometimes, like this, yellow. Then I'm going to pull that up closer to the white here like this. Hit done. I'm going to go to transparency, raise that up, grab that and drag that. Boom, there's my window right there. Okay? And now my window's not done. I have no little interior details. Watch, I'm going to really quickly take this little cylinder. Oops, let's do that again. Okay? So windows have little frames inside them. Windows are not solid pieces of glass. They usually have frames. They have little sections. Okay? So look, if I come in here and I look at this, I can see exactly where I want to go from a top view. And so where's my, let me select my window pane in here that I had. There's my window pane. So look, is that little detail, it's not over it here. I'm going to put it right over the middle of it like that. Okay. So well, look, I'm going to make the little window edging. That's still really thick. I'm going to thin it down. There. I'm going to make it taller like so. So let's say I'm in a pirate-themed restaurant. I might have iron-based windows that look like this. Okay? See how quick I made that? Real quick and simple. If I wanted to get even more detailed, maybe my window's open. Maybe there's a top window and a lower segment. So watch. Really quick. Let me take these. Let me group those. I'm going to duplicate those. Let's rotate that 90 degrees. Okay? 90. Oops. Try that again. There it goes. I'm going to drag this up right in here. Now, watch what I'm going to do here. Think outside of the box, right? I'm going to make two different window panes. Okay. Now, I made the mistake where I extruded this part open, but I can still use this part. Watch. I'm going to duplicate that window frame, pull it back out here. I'm going to come over here, ungroup it, and take out this window piece. Actually, I could keep that in there. Here, this is the part I'm going to get rid of. I don't want that lower stuff down there. I'm going to go to Faces. I'm going to line up. I'm going to select all these lower faces right there. Okay. Get rid of that face, that face, that face, that face. Okay. This guy here. I'm going to select my edge and select here. I'm going to tell it to fill hole. So I'm going to come back under polygons here, under edit mesh, scroll down here, excuse me, it's under mesh, fill hole, there it is. Now watch, this is all one piece, right? Or I'm going to make it, not one piece, I'm going to group it together. And I'm going to make this into a separate window so it looks like it closes and lowers. I'm going to select the vertices right here. Okay, it's not selecting, let's try that again, there we go. I'm going to make this a little bit, now look, when I went to move all the vertices, what's happening? It's wigging out. Why? Every piece has a different set of history. Edit, delete by type, history. Now let's try it. Still doing it. Well, that means I'm just going to freeze the transformations then. Edit, okay, and then I'm going to come down here and I don't know where it's located because I have a hotkey for it. It's modify actually. Alt F. Freeze transformations. Okay, let's see if it did it. Now when I go to grab these vertices, it moves them. So now I have a lower segmented window. So watch. I can now bring that back into my scene like this. And it's in there. But watch, I'm just going to pull this over a little bit, put that part there. I'm going to select this side of the window here, move that over right there. See how I did that? And now I can grab these little bars that I had. Okay. I'm going to slide those bars down into about right here. Grab these other vertices. And so what I did, hold on, let me adjust it a little bit more. So what I've done really quick is now if I group all this together, so here I'm going to delete this piece that was there. That's weird. Maya is sort of wigging out right now. It's not letting me select. Come on, Maya, come back to world. There it goes. So look, see what I did is I basically created a separate window frame here. If I group these together, and if I adjust the thinness, I could have another window that's right up above it like this. So this window, I can adjust it a little bit so they could slide if I were to make them a little bit thinner. This one might be back here. So that's how windows work. You see that? If this window were to go up and down, look at what would happen. See that? I could make a functioning window inside my scene like that really quick. See? That window can be part open. Okay? But I did all that by taking... So before you do your bouillon, save that piece. It's really valuable. In like 5 minutes, I made this little window. I made a full functioning window right there. Okay? Save that piece. It's extremely valuable. Why? It matches the hole. If you don't save it, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to come back and go, okay, I deleted it. Phil told me to. Not to. Now I got to match this up. I got to get that one there. I got to select the vertices, move them over. It takes another 10 minutes. Duplicate this piece a couple times. You're going to use it for the window frame. You're going to use it for the window glass. You might use it to make a separate window itself. Okay? You're going to use it to bouillon. Just use that and look. Bingo. You have a window. And if you want to make window that opens up with a window behind it, you can. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. Okay? But that's just to talk about, I just thought I'd throw that in there, making the windows. So we've talked about the layout. We've talked about creating new cameras to look at from multiple views. We talked about coming in here and going into our panels. Now remember when I went to the 4 view? If you didn't want 4 view and you just want 2 on 2, all you have to do is come here and go to panels, and you go down here to layouts, and you have all these options. Panels, layout, look, 2 panes stacked side by side. Look at that. So this right here is my perspective view. I can work in this window, especially if I close that. And then I come down here, and this is my floor view. So anything I do in this view here, if I change or modify, see, I can see it changing in my floor view right here. That's great. That's a fantastic way to work. Saves me a lot of time. Okay? All right. So spend some time, lay out your restaurant, figure out your point of views, your angles that you want, get it locked in, and then go in and start adding in the detail. And before you add in the detail, my approach, what I like to do is I like to have the walls be separate. Why? A, I could move them around very quickly. B, I can punch holes in them and make windows or whatever I want to do. And I don't have to worry about if I have the whole entire room created out of one piece of typology, that's okay. But then sometimes if I start, knocking in holes or deleting shapes or parts of it, it can mess up the history and the geometry. And then once from here, I want to build something more finished and complex, I can do that as well. All right? Okay, have fun, guys.